Phails at philosophy. What the heck could it be? Life such a mystery. Phails.
I mean, the thing about a broadcast, I think, when I think about it, is it's not going through an algorithm before it gets in front of someone's eyes.
Yeah.
It's someone who likes that station or is just flipping through and finds that station. So there's just kind of a breadth of appeal and you might be able to catch audience in a community you would not connect with through algorithm-based distribution.
Yeah. What I realize is, given the structure of this, the format for my show, it is uniquely Austin.
Yeah, and I think that's, and even as a kind of like national brand, if it becomes like a big thing, it's still going to be kind of an Austin perspective.
Well,
right?
because
you're doing the face-to-face interviews.
I do face-to-face. I live in Austin.
Right.
And I want it to be bigger than that. I want the topic, the mind, body, and spirit. I'm kind of honing on
I think
mind, body, spirit. I think it can be bigger, but I'm pulling from my community. I'm pulling from this place. Right. And what I'm noticing is we're abundant.
Yeah.
This is an abundant community. I do need to balance it out probably with more conservative viewpoints, and that hasn't happened naturally, but I imagine it will. You're like, no.
I mean, no, it's you're not doing a political show.
I'm not doing a political show.
So it doesn't matter to worry too much around the political valence. What you want to do is maybe when you think of that as conservative, not in the political sense, but in terms of like having an MD come in who's a practicing doctor.
I have a doctor coming in. I'm interviewing a registered dietitian this set.
But I mean, just like someone who's really into giving people pills.
Right.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like a psychiatrist that's like pills first.
My doctor she is the best doctor I've ever, she's a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
She's the best doctor I've ever had.
Where do you go?
I go to Inspire.
Okay. I go to Rosedale Family Clinic up there. They're good too.
And and part of why I love her is she is a scientist first.
Yeah.
And a doctor second.
Yeah.
Although she's got the care down, right? Because she's trained as a nurse.
Right.
But she's always able to talk very clearly about the research around what she's talking to me around my health. Yeah. And I can tell she's talking about it, from the perspective of someone who's reading, not just reading research, but reading the right research. And but she loves her pharmacology. Like, she's like, we have 5 pills for it, right?
Yeah.
But she's really open to a conversation. She knows I really want minimal pills. I accept pills, but I want minimal pills. And so all of the time, our strategy on anything is always, what can we do first? But like with my allergies, all sorts of pill, non-pill, like pills fuck me up because I have this I can't take antihistamines without having either like racing heart or I get tired.
Yeah.
And she found like the one nose spray that'll work. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, someone like that, like someone who is open-minded and engaged, but maybe that kind of conservatism.
Yeah. I'm down with that. Are
we recording?
Yeah, we are.
I figured.
On this topic, I like the beginning to be casual.
Right.
I don't want to tell people we're recording. I just want to have a casual convo, but we're definitely recording.
You don't want to do the clap?
We can do the clap when I do the intro.
Yeah, that's true.
I'll do the intro. On this topic, I really believe most of our challenges as humans is lifestyle. I really believe that the 3 medicines are nutrition, movement, and sleep.
Yeah.
Like I think those should be the first things that everybody does in order to improve their life.
Yeah, they're just hard, right? That's the thing. And they're hard in the context of a life that puts a lot of different other demands on you.
Yeah,
right?
That's true. And life where there's a ton of media influence in all these areas.
Yeah, and just a community. You don't have that's why it's easier for people to do that if they engage and find themselves in a like-minded community.
Right. That's really important.
The problem is you can then silo yourself in that community and cut yourself off to, that's the balance.
Yeah.
But I think it would be helpful if when we had conversations at whatever level of community we were at, right?
Mm-hmm.
Local, national, around things like health or wellness, if people approached it more from a space of inquiry and understanding rather than sides are associated with what we're committed to as the kind of framework, right?
What do you say more about that?
Well, I mean, like there's a way you can say, I think we need nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
What was it? Nutrition,
movement, and sleep.
And sleep, yeah. And you could have a really, really open conversation about the role of those in health with someone who thinks that medical interventions are the key to most problems.
Right.
Where you're really saying, hey, well, what does this do for the body at what times? And what does this do for the body at what times?
That's a good point.
Right? Instead of these people are committed to this and these people
one
are
or the other. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It's really like a both and. Like how
and it might not be. And you've like both sides of the conversation have to be open to kind of seeing why another human being who's really intelligent, who cares about the body,
gone through education,
right, would have a very different perspective. Right. And that person has to be able to have the same kind of sense of like, hey, this is a community of people who have explored health in a very different way than I have, right? What is their perspective?
Yeah. I approach it from this place of it's something that I'm taking on as part of my kind of realization of optimization, and something I notice in my daughter's struggles and the way they approach helping and supporting her. It seems like those three things are not even tried. Like we don't even go to that basic lifestyle things. We go straight to pharmacology and pharmaceuticals. And when you look at the side effects of those pharmaceuticals, they give the exact side effects that we're trying to remediate or we're trying to reduce. All these drugs that they prescribe have anxiety as a side effect. They have depression as a side effect. And when you bundle them together, I looked at this drug interaction website that showed you put in the drugs that you have and it'll say potential reactions, major, intermediate, and minor. And they had major interactions that were giving the exact experiences that we're trying to reduce. And I just thought, man, the side effects of nutrition, movement, and sleep, I don't think that they're going to be any.
There's two things I would offer kind of in relation to that. One, just because something is a side effect, that's in terms of a risk analysis calculus, you have to know what the chance of that kicking in is a side effect, because
not everybody has that.
I mean, part of the problem is we actually have a legal structure which may be being dismantled right now, like the FDA, that sets up these high standards of transparency. So that even if there's a very small chance of a side effect, which I think is appropriate,
they have to mention it.
They have to report it as a side effect. But then you read it and you're like, oh, that crazy thing's a side effect. And, it's kind of like anything else we do in life. People, especially when they're facing a new high impact risk, they tend to be very wary of it, even though they're taking much more probable high impact risks in other contexts. I mean, getting on highways, most dangerous thing you can do.
That's what you're saying.
You know what I mean? So you've got to have that. So that's one aspect. And I also think of it from sort of a realistic analysis and a practitioner's perspective. And I remember talking to my doctor once, and she was, we were talking about my why am I blanking on what they're called? My blood. The fat in my blood.
Fat in your blood. Cholesterol.
Cholesterol. That's it. My cholesterol levels are kind of getting close to where they're potentially problematic.
Yeah, reduce those.
And we were talking about, potentially medical, pharmacological approaches or diet, right?
Yeah.
And she flat out said diet's the best way, but the problem is, are you going to do it?
Yeah.
And from a practitioner, I realized from a practitioner's perspective, if you look at evidence-based medicine, there's a good chance they're probably looking at that and saying, hey, we can tell people to eat better, and those people are going to go home and try to eat better, and they're not going to eat better, and they're going to come back next time and feel guilty, and they're going to lie to us about what, you know.
Yeah.
And so is it a good recommendation to make when this has a better outcome?
I wonder. I wondered about this.
And I think it's just like the flip side of that is when you're hearing, you know, my choice was to work on diet, right?
Yeah.
When you're hearing that information coming from a practitioner whose job is to, in often a very compressed period of time, say, what advice can I give you that when I have an interaction with another human being over about an hour, during a regular checkup, is most likely to produce an outcome,
a positive result,
right? And take that into perspective. And so the question you have to ask yourself in that is sort of like, am I ready to do that? Am I, like, all those things, and then make your choice.
How do you build a habit in a human being in an hour once every 6 months?
Yeah.
Can you? And I think diet, sleep, and movement are all habitual behaviors. They need to be kind of lifestyle behaviors. There's things that you do routinely.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just say, oh, I'm going to do that. You know, we all are aware of what happens around January 1st. At least I go to a gym regularly, and I see an influx of folks on January 1st. The first 2 weeks, a lot of people at the gym.
Right.
A lot of folks got those New Year's resolutions, and then come the end of January, there's just like
all sorts of things.
Because habits take a while to really get ingrained into our life, and
especially habits that take time
and maybe aren't that fun.
Yeah.
It seems like eating donuts is fun. Why does it seem like eating donuts is fun? And I want to regress a little bit back to what you're saying about the different side effects, and some of them may or may not happen. I want to speak to that because I worry about a world where a lot of folks don't have a strong awareness of what's going on in their body, like an ability to really verbalize and to sense the impact of drugs somatically. And they might be having those, you know, and that's going to get to a book that I'm going to talk about later for us to read, but this like idea of awareness of what's going on. And so then those impacts, the nervousness, the somatic nervousness, or that somatic kind of thing, will kind of from a shadow position impact that person.
Right. Yeah. Because developing somatic awareness, absolutely. I mean, like being able to be aware of what's going on with your body. Now,
super important, but we don't have that in America.
I mean, we
have it, but I don't think it's as prevalent as it'd be, as it's in value, you know?
Yeah, we have it. And I actually think it's relatively widespread as an example of the kind of way in which it's easy to find a large health and wellness community when you kind of poke
we
around.
live in Austin,
right? But
it might be different in Boise, Idaho, and I'm not picking on Boise.
Right.
Okay, I don't know what's going on in Boise. Y'all probably have a real good.
But it's interesting when I'm back in Ohio. It's clearly there in semi-rural Ohio by the number of yoga studios I see where I never had driving through like areas outside of Akron and stuff like that. Yeah, so I think there's a level at which it's there, but I think it's sort of this very kind of distributed, fragmented community. It tends to be based around far too much the way our marketplace works, where the focus is often not on a larger conversation about what's going to help us be healthy, but what is the thing I can promote that's going to help me be, in terms of the people driving the conversation, get into the marketplace and convince people that this is the thing.
Yeah.
Right.
What's got kind of legs.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, culturally.
Right.
Yoga's got legs.
It's a relatively unregulated marketplace.
Yeah.
And so
I've been looking into supplements, and that's a place where it's like,
especially and the drivers of that conversation, not out of malice, but out of a structure that basically requires that for success.
Yeah.
Is I've got a thing, I'm going to promote it, which is the opposite of an inquiry base, because you've got to always be open to the fact
you're promoting the thing that you got, as opposed to like, what's the best thing out there?
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas, open research scientific communities, although they've got their own bad incentives, right? Are driven by a kind of status incentive that can shape itself more because you get status and accolades within that because you have established your status as a health knower, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
a thought leader on health.
Right? And there's more room, even though that status is often too much driven by like, I'm the sleep guy, and this is what I know about sleep.
Yeah, we got those guys.
Right? But there's a level at which you have less economic incentive to stay invested with that if the research starts showing you it's what you thought was true.
You just ignore that research.
Right.
Yeah, and you just...
Right.
Well, what seems to be the case is you can find research to support whatever you want. There's like a lot of stuff. 2 things before we get started. Number 1, speaking of yoga, I've been working with Studio Satya.
That's great.
And when I went in there, they were like, we went and saw your show and we saw you had Grant on there. Grant comes here. And I was like, awesome.
Yeah.
We're going to the same yoga studio, baby.
I know. That's
Studio
great.
Satya.
Yeah, I love that. I love that place.
Pronounce it for me.
It's Studio Satya.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, sure.
Pretty good. But we're yogaing at the same place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I haven't been there in a while.
No, I haven't seen you there, but I wasn't going to say anything.
Yeah.
I haven't seen you there.
It's funny because I've like every so often I put it back on my calendar.
Yeah.
And then something comes up or...
Who do you... I'm sure you like everybody there, but is there a certain class that you go to or you
When I was going to the Hatha class.
Is it a particular facilitator or is it just whoever's doing Hatha at the time?
It was, but yeah, I don't want to promote one over the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I've got...
Because I love the 3 owners.
Mary, Holly, and Carly. They're all coming on the show. Mary's been on it. Holly and Carly are coming during this section.
Yeah, the reality is that as teachers... I loved all 3. I love all 3.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, I do too.
And they have very different perspectives, but
and different styles.
I like the focus on alignment.
Yeah.
In the Hatha sequences.
I just like the chillness of Hatha.
And I'm less, even though there's things that I think are good about it, and it's challenged me to being there, challenged me to embrace it. Like I avoided sort of vinyasa style yoga for years. And originally kind of in terms of when I got up into yoga seriously was in Bikram world.
Okay, hot. That's the hot stuff.
Hot Hatha, right?
Yeah.
Holding a posture for a while.
And it's the same postures, right?
Right.
Bikram
it was 26 postures.
In a hot room.
Right. And that regularity definitely as a foundation was really good.
Yeah.
And the hot was good. Like I loved it. It was a style of yoga that you couldn't do if your lifestyle didn't allow you to have the time to go to the studio in the heat.
Yeah, you have to have that hot room.
And even once, like really every day.
And aside on that hot room thing.
Yeah.
I watched, I've been doing a lot of research on nutrition because I'm like, and I've got a registered dietitian coming on the show, this section. I saw something that communicated a correlation between heat exposure and reduction in visceral fat.
Interesting.
Which visceral fat reduction is really important. Visceral fat is the fat that like is inside around your organs. And from what I can tell, it kind of acts like an organ itself, and it can release toxic chemicals into your body. Like visceral fat's real bad.
Is it? Does it have a function, or is it just where it's stored? Because
it's different than subcutaneous fat.
Right.
I'm not going to be able to speak on it intelligently because I learn it and I like, okay, I'm going to do this different thing, but I don't like keep it all. But I did remember it saying that one way to reduce it was heat exposure.
Yeah.
So I imagine Bikram has that component.
Oh yeah, folks. I mean, like I was super fit at the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I was also carless.
Yeah. So you were riding bike or walking.
And so in addition to the yoga, I was doing 200 miles.
Oh wow.
A week just from commuting on my bike. You were
probably like fit.
Yeah, I was half the size I am now.
Yeah.
In terms of like weight and all that was muscle. Yeah. No, it was good.
Yeah.
But it was intense. I mean, I remember things like, more than anything, that intense style of yoga made me manage my diet better and my lifestyle better, because there were definitely moments where like I'd be out and I'd be like, do I want that beer?
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I very quickly, like, I became aware of what one beer does to me.
That's awareness, baby.
Like, because 3 days later, I can feel, especially when you're doing it regularly, you can see the impact on your performance in the studio.
Well, you're making your body a high performance machine.
Right.
And with high performance machines, I think it's probably more, any change or any kind of dirt in the system is going to be more, it's going to more easily seen or more easily felt.
Yeah. So yeah, when I came back to yoga like a couple years ago, and I was thinking like, I've thought about going to the kind of post Bikram studio. Yeah. Because I do like that style. The toxic Bikram culture stuff that
I watched a documentary on Bikram, and apparently he's a bad guy.
Yeah, well, and I could see, not like as bad as it ended up really being. Yeah. But I could see the toxicity in the background of this kind of semi closed community of teachers. In the world, there was already kind of a breakaway studio that was a Bikram style that I was going to when I was there. And I could see that there were a lot of good practitioners and teachers who were trying to do the best within the system that was toxic at the top. Yeah. To create a good community, a good system, a good... so there's part of me that's still interested in that community. But
Bikram. Doing the healthy...
that kind of... and especially now in a community that's controlled by the teachers instead of by some dude at the top.
I think one of the people at Crux, where I do a lot of yoga, is doing a Bikram, or at least a hot yoga somewhere in Austin. I could find out. Yeah. There's places around.
But, I know where it was. And at that point...
Oh, you do?
I was talking to a former student of mine who's now a friend, and she's connected to Satya.
Okay.
And she's like, you got to check out Satya. And
their community, like when I talk to Mary, she's like, community is really important to her, and I like that.
Yeah, and they're embedded in kind of a wider, also a background because of their roots in Yoga Union, in a space where they had to sort through those community problems in the past.
Yoga,
Yoga, not Yoga Union. That's actually the kind of breakaway Bikram studio I went to in Portland.
Okay,
but yeah, Yoga, like, so there's a level at which like people trying to put together community who have been through some drama. Yeah. And understand.
They got to experience an awareness.
Because so much of the drama comes from the naivete, especially in these kinds of communities.
Hippie communities.
That we're going to be, any kind of like.
Well, because the universe and the fairies and all those things are going to fix everything.
Yeah. And and it's Christian communities, it's hippie communities, it's communities with
God's going to fix everything.
Right. And there's a sense that because
we need to do it.
Because we're in like a good yoga community together. We're a special kind of person.
The spirituality of all of us is going to solve all the problems instead of the raw.
And we're not going to be crappy human beings.
Hands in the dirt.
Who engage in corruption, who are driven by ego, who like all.
Which we all are.
Right.
So to some extent.
So people trying to put together a community who have been through that.
They're like, no, we got to get down to the basics here, y'all. This is human interaction.
And I've got my eye out for the predators, and I've got my eye out for the corruption, and I've got, and that's sort of part of what I trust about that community is they've been around the block.
Oh, well, I really am grateful for them. They're the first partnership I have as a brand.
Nice.
Like our relationship now is the barter on their side is that I get access to the studio. They've given me the unlimited membership, and I'm interviewing all three of them and going to do my best to share those. And I'm asking them, like, how else can I contribute to this community with my skills and with the equipment, because I want to keep being a part of that community until I have some money to pay for the membership, because it's not cheap.
No, I know.
And right now I just don't have the money to spend on it, and I kind of need to move the show into some kind of exchange of energy type of,
Yeah, no, I think that's the solid. Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for them being kind of the first people to do it. I mean, you might be the first because we've been doing this a long time, and I learn a lot from you. But it's different. Like they're skin in the game.
They're a business trying to relate to you as a business,
right?
As well as people trying to relate to you as a people. And I think that's
really they're putting some trust in me,
right? And
I feel anxious a little bit about it. And I should.
Yeah, you should be careful
because I'm like I want to showcase them as them.
Right.
It's not a puff piece. But it's also like I want to try to be of service to them outside of my brand.
Right, exactly.
Like to interview maybe their students or them and let that be their content. That's not Phil Phails content. So I'm trying to figure out how to get there, and we're going to keep talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get there by just doing it and staying open to hearing what your collaborators have to say.
Yeah.
And practicing those listening skills when you're working with your collaborators.
That's hard for me.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
It's only hard for you because you have enough awareness to realize how hard it is for everyone.
Okay.
In yourself. Right.
Are we going
to clap and start?
We're going to clap and start. But first, I'm going to christen the new bandana. The new neckerchief.
The new neckerchief.
The new neckerchief. I got this neckerchief.
Nice.
I got this. It's a new color. I didn't have this color, and now I have it. It's Pedernales Pedernales Falls State Park. I went there hiking. I love
Pedernales. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I did the Cat Mountain. Is it Cat Mountain? Is that the name of that mountain over there? It's a mountain. Wolf Mountain. I did the Wolf Mountain loop to the Jones Spring Trail, and I got lost back there. I went with Did
you have your neckerchief before you went on the hike?
Oh, I had the neckerchief on the hike.
Yeah, so it's very practical.
I did. I took it off and I looked at where I was and I was like, I don't know where I am on here.
Like when you showed me that, I was like, that's such a brilliant idea. You got your neckerchief and then like you got your map, you got to pull it out.
You don't have the
paper one that gets all ganked up and stuff.
A lot of my neckerchiefs are these.
Oh, nice.
I get these at state parks. So
I don't think I've seen those.
Chisos Basin. I've got Colorado Bend. I've got Big Bend Ranch State Park. I've got a lot of them.
I think I just don't look at those because I don't look at bandanas when I'm at the
Well, they don't have bandanas.
Store.
They have neckerchiefs for sure, though. So I'm going to put this on and then we're going to clap and get down to business.
So the neckerchief is the official signal that
it's business time.
It's business time. It's your cravat.
Yeah, it's my cravat. I also have this colorful shirt. Someone thrifted this shirt for me.
Yeah, I saw the shirt. Yeah, it was when you were like, "Hey, look, I'm looking healthy."
You were like,
"That's a nice shirt."
Good. It's very a great shirt, isn't it?
I don't know. I would wear that shirt though. Yeah,
I know you would. That's what I mean.
I love that shirt.
I'm down. I'm trying to mix it up from the black, and all right. So what we're gonna do for this one is we're gonna go through and wrap up.
Sure.
The big questions of philosophy.
Okay.
And hopefully, I was thinking, and we're co-creating this, but I was thinking we would go through each question and give it like maybe 5 minutes of like, what do we think about that question now, holistically, as we talked about all of them.
Seems like a lot, but we can try.
We could do less than 5 minutes. It could be, hard to.
I'm just saying,
it's hard to keep Grant down to.
We've already been talking for 40 minutes, and we got about a little over an hour left.
Okay. So we'll figure that out, and then we're gonna talk through the books and figure out what we're gonna read next. Good. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today we have returning guest Grant Potts. Wave to everybody. You guys know Grant Potts. Phil Phails at Philosophy Book Club. Today we're wrapping up the big questions and we're finding a new book.
Yep.
That's what we're going to do. We both have, Grant has brought a stack of books. One of them looks like it has too many pages. I'm just going to.
You're so page oriented.
I'm page oriented.
You are very page oriented.
Yeah. I had another philosopher on here, David Beaver. I cheated on us with David Beaver. He's a professor of philosophy and linguistics and the director of cognitive science program at UT. And he's got a book called The Politics of Language. And I asked him about like, hey, why don't we do a book club with your book and talk about how awesome is that to talk with the author about the book? And after I mentioned that, I went and looked at the chapters and I was like, darn, these are like 100 pages long. What am I getting myself into? So I am page oriented.
Well, I mean, it's different. All right, so this is the I actually when I grabbed this book, that's the thick book you see.
Yeah, I see it.
I was like, Phil's going to be like, that's a long book. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have that response. I did at a certain, like when I was a kid, for sure, I'd be like, oh, that's a large book. And even in my 20s, there was a level of, but I think I've read so much that the difficulty of the book is so independent of the length of the book.
Of it. It could be an easy book that's really long, or it could be a really dense, tough book that's short.
Exactly. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is, like, I had to give up this like thing that had gotten drilled into me in my childhood because of all the like programs at elementary school, which were, I think they did a good thing, but they were like, hey, if you read a book, you get a sticker.
Yeah.
And it was all this extrinsic motivation that I was so tied into, like that sort of like, I finished a book reward, I'm a good reader.
So you wanted smaller number of pages so you could get that reward faster.
Right. And I had to kind of lose that, right? I had to just, and I don't know how I lost that, except I think I let myself become more comfortable starting books and not finishing them.
Oh.
Like there's a whole level as a reader in which I approach reading much more in the moment than I did in the past, much more about what am I experiencing? What is this helping me think about? Not just in the moment, but like at this time in my life, and being much more comfortable going back and forth. And I actually like I often have a Kindle book that's like a sci-fi book or something I'm reading. And I'll read it as kind of just relaxation, right? Like before I go to sleep and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's a kind of a thing that goes in and out of my life.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of that kind of book is the thing. And I'll read it like halfway through a novel and put it aside for 4 months and then pick it up again.
And you can, just like an old friend, start from where you left off?
I mean, it's a challenge, and I'm like, what's going on? Who are these characters?
Yeah. So you have the fogginess.
But there's part of me that actually has learned to enjoy that kind of re-entry into a world, because there's this thing where, like, if you go back and watch, like if you really like a series and you watch the first season and you're waiting for the second season, you don't rewatch the first season.
It takes you a while.
It takes you a while, and there's this pleasure for me of the kind of reconstruction of the world of that
you're
narrative.
Bringing it all back in. And it's probably beneficial for people in community, because sometimes you'll like come across someone you haven't seen in a long time, and maybe they weren't a core person in your world, and you do have to like almost, build them in your brain. Like, who is this person?
Right.
How do I know them? And then maybe some like investigation with language of trying to tease that out without directly asking.
You mean like when you run into like someone who's like, you think is an old friend?
Yeah.
But you're like, it's been a while.
How do we know each other? What have we done? I know we've done something. It's almost like...
I've definitely had that before, especially with high school friends. Like where I've been re-encountered later in life, and they're talking like they totally know me.
They know you.
And I'm like, I have no idea. I have no context for this human being.
But they could probably say a couple words.
And then it clicks in.
And it would come back.
Yeah.
So that you just don't have the anchor to that memory.
Right.
But they do. Speed round. Big questions. Do you want to do big questions, or do you want to like do a big question and then we both pull out a book? Do a big question. Then I like it.
Yeah.
I'm easy. Okay.
Either way.
Yeah, I'm down with that. We got about an hour or so. So we'll just do half and half. That's perfect.
Yeah.
First, so we're going to go through the big questions of philosophy. This was a book by Stephen M. Emanuel. Did you bring that book?
I did not.
Oh my God.
I thought we were just going to talk like
books.
Well, informally about the big questions. I didn't realize we're going to.
Well, how are we going to memorize? Do you remember all of the?
If we don't
questions?
do it right, we're bad people.
That's right. We're going to try to accept our imperfection and our imperfect memory.
What did you think of the book? What questions?
Not that one. Let's go question by question.
What questions stood out for you? Or do you have a list of the questions?
I remember the first question, and that's where we start.
Okay, good.
And if I've got to go, I've got it on my thing. If I've got to go get that, that's fine.
Okay.
The first question was how to live a good human life, human flourishing.
Yeah, core question. Right.
This seems like an important question.
Yep.
Of all the questions, it seems like one that if humans answer that, it will have a positive impact on not only them, but their community and society at large. Like, how do I live a good life? Unless the answer to them is like rob from people, but I don't know how it would end up being that.
Yeah, and I mean, if that's their good life, that's their good life. Right?
But at least it's another human being living a good life, but they're impacting everybody around them in a negative way.
I mean, we may need to
boundary them. Yeah, boundary them,
right?
Yeah.
And we may even need to thwart. I mean, this is a core question, like, you know, if you have a notion that we maybe each have a different way to approach a good life, how do they harmonize, and what does the disharmony in your idea of a good life and my idea of a good life, what do we do with that disharmony? Because we all have disharmony between that, right? Most of our political kind of situation, if we're being generous, I mean, there's bad actors, right? But we're being generous with the people on the ground who are just they have radically different visions of a good life.
Yeah, I'm getting my phone so I can keep track of these. Not to pull up the thing, just so I can keep track of it, because you can start talking, Grant, and the 20 minutes go by, and I want to make sure we keep these like 5 to 10.
So anyway, as you're getting the phone,
you can talk to the people while I get the phone,
but I'm not talking to the people. I'm talking to you.
That's right. You're talking to me. I'm the people.
You are the people.
Power to the people. Where did I put my phone?
This is like,
did I have it all along?
This is the great
I had it all along.
barrier to the good life.
I had it all along.
In the contemporary world is the amount of times we spend looking for a phone.
Looking for the phone, baby. I got it.
So anyway, you've got these conflicts between visions of a good life, and what do you do with that? One way to resolve that is to just say, well, one of them's right, and you got to figure out what's right, and then the other people have to be stopped because they have the wrong idea of the good life, and it's getting in the way of the right idea of the good life, right?
Through an exploration of the good life, I think you have to consider the impact of your actions on others. And if you come to the conclusion that those impacts are negative, then you'd have to see that negativity as coming back on you in a way that hinders your ability to have a good life. I don't think you can come to the conclusion that a good life is this way.
Right. Yeah. And so that's an interesting thing, because like that, you know, if you've got an absolutist understanding of the good life, that there's a certain good life, like even if that's true, there's a recent article I read by Susan Wolf. It's maybe 20 or 30 years old, about pluralism in ethics.
Yeah.
And part of what she's trying to talk about is sort of when people encounter pluralist notions of ethics, which is that our vision of ethics, whether we're viewing it as kind of a rule-based ethics or flourishing or a good life, that ultimately it has to be framed within a number of different perspectives in conversation with each other, right?
Yes.
And part of the article is she's trying to make an exploration of this, an analysis of this position, one that distinguishes it from relativism, right? Pluralism is not relativism. It's not every vision of the good life goes, right? We can say, hey, there's certain things that are not the good life. And what she does is she goes through a number of areas in life that we do this all the time outside of ethics and we're comfortable with. But for some reason with ethics, we want to be absolutists. And then, she says, she goes through this interesting discussion. She says, I think as a philosopher, I think there's probably a truth about what is a good life.
A truth that is universal.
But the paradox is, if we operate even knowing that, with that as our framework, it turns us into tyrants who...
Because we force everybody to fit into the mold of that universal truth.
So even in... It's sort of an interesting exploration.
We have to come upon that universal truth on our own, through our own journey.
Right, so you can have...
So that we can believe it.
Yeah, but you have to have... And I think part of it is the minute you begin to slip into absolutism, you begin to lose your intellectual humility, right? You begin to, because you've gotten usually what looks like a vision of the truth.
Dogma.
Right. This is the value to me of intellectual history, right? Because like if you study the history of ideas, you can see lots of ideas that emerge that look like absolutely true. And by all frameworks at the time, like natural science ideas, yeah, that looks like how we should understand the interactions of physics. But then we make a discovery and move on. But those people could have approached that with a kind of an absolutism. We figured it out. This is the truth.
Yeah.
Or understand that the truth, as it actually unfolds for us as knowers, seems to come out of a conversation. And a conversation of people trying to get it right, not just accepting everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think that's vital for a good life as well.
What are a couple things that make up a good life for you? I remember what we talked about in our original conversation. It was cultivating minds, cultivating the garden. It was cultivation. Is that still true for you today?
Yeah, I think so. I think thriving, right? It's flourishing, right? But on all levels, right? But I guess part of what's important for me, I think some people can have a good life and just thrive and flourish. I'm too much a knower, right? Meaning that like a lot of where I live my life
is in your head or
is
intellectual,
in knowledge,
yeah,
right? Is in trying to have good knowledge of the world.
Epistemology.
Right, exactly. And that's great. I love being a knower.
Yeah.
I don't see it as like being up in my head. There's ways it can manifest that way.
Yeah.
So for me, finding the things that are the signal that they're the signal that the flourishing is happening.
Yeah. Right? What are the indicators?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's part of what the garden is for me. Like when
it's obvious in the garden.
When the garden is thriving, I have such a feeling of like a kind of woo-woo energetic connection with the garden.
Yeah.
That like I feel like and it's very real on the level that like when I know that my life is going off the rails a little, like in terms of how I'm managing it. A good weekend in the garden, tending the garden and bringing it back into health and thriving when it's gotten overgrown or crazy or whatnot.
Yeah.
It makes my ability to do that in the rest of my life easier. Like it's a practice where I practice bringing my attention to the processes that count. Now, I particularly like the garden because I think it does help me with a vision of the good life in my human interactions, where my role, especially in leadership areas, is not to tell people what to do, but to create the conditions by which they can grow and thrive in the way that we've, that we've worked out is their role within the organization or whatnot. Yeah. And not be a particularly directive, although I can be directive. I try to reserve it.
Yeah. You want them to be self-guided, which I think is self-organizing teams are the best. That's a blanket statement, but it seems like when I'm self-guided, self-motivated, self-organized, you're probably going to get the best results.
Right.
Because I'm excited, I'm passionate. If you tell me to do something directive, you're probably going to get the worst value out of that.
If they're structured, if they're in a well-aligned operational structure. Right. And that doesn't mean centralized by you can have a vision of that's very kind of linear or whatnot. That's not my garden. Right.
Of the three, I'm going to be a little, just to keep us on track, I'll be a little like time-oriented, but which I don't like. Of the three, utilitarianism, virtue, or remember there was three ways we could look at this flourishing. It was like being virtuous. The person is a good person. The outcomes are good, or the action is good. Do you fall one or the other heavily?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a virtue.
I think I'm a virtue person too.
Yeah, and I think the others are important, but they're like, I think at the end of the day, if you're trying to pursue the good life, you're trying to be a good person.
So you stack virtues.
Right. But there are moments where you have to engage in that kind of weighing of outcomes. And that's where utilitarianism is very helpful as a perspective. Again, I'm also a pluralist, I think, more than a virtue ethicist at the end of the day. I see all of them as contributing.
Yeah.
And there are moments, there are kinds of things where, like, yeah, the best way to operate is to see that as a hard rule that we don't violate, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a rule, right? Not because of the outcome, right? And not because we've cultivated. But I think in terms of just operating as a human being, the most ridiculous thing we lie to ourselves about again and again and again is that we have the ability to make decisions throughout our day in this kind of executive reflective space.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the time we're on autopilot.
Yeah, true.
And so something that really helps refine the character so that it expresses itself where you're not capable of making decisions.
Yeah.
That seems to be what's important to me.
I think virtue's the best or my favorite because of, back to that cultivation idea, it's probably the easiest for bringing new people into this community. Like if we raise kids focusing on virtue, focusing on characteristics that then later on give us these outcomes that we want, I think we would get more utilitarian benefit. I think we would get more actions that are themselves valuable.
Yeah, and if you look at like our two kind of big ancient figures of virtue ethics, Kongji, Confucius, Aristotle, in their cultures, their philosophy, particularly around virtue ethics, became cornerstones of educational theory. Right.
Makes sense.
Right. So that leads to the first book I brought.
Okay.
Which is The Character Gap.
The Character. How good are we? That's a perfect book.
Right. It's really about this. I don't know much about the book. It's new.
Okay.
It's I've been getting into this character research in the last year or two, because at my work, we're operating on a grant right now, which is really to explore this field called you can get grants that are capacity building grants, right? And so we're having a conversation at work around character models of education. How do we understand this potentially as a way to make the general education that people do, whether they're in a workforce degree or an academic degree, all those requirements you have to take that are not your major.
Yeah.
How do we help people understand and see the relevance of that?
The value of different types of things.
Of educating them.
So you're going to kind of break down the students as different character types?
No, not necessarily typologizing the students, but more and this is like, that's what we're working on, is what we do.
What we will do.
Yeah. And part of it is like, I resist saying too much, because part of the project is that we're engaging in now is an exploratory project.
Yeah.
With a number of faculty to figure out what this looks like before we jump in and say this is what we're. But yeah, there seems to be a way in which, especially where it's looked at practical wisdom as an aspect of character, which are specifically those character traits that contribute to knowing things well, like intellectual humility, right?
Yeah.
That have a very clear practical impact, and when we've studied in moral psychology, have an impact on, like, if you develop a habit of being careful, right, with the beliefs you take on before you, but by reviewing them, right,
before you make them part of
yours. With that also, we see that correlates with just an ability to learn things better.
Yeah.
In the long run, right? So that it's anchored in the kind of broad educational outcomes that are appropriate for an educational institution.
Yeah.
We're not trying to like morally program students, but rather introduce them to and if there is a moral program, it's like, how can we help you flourish as a human being?
Yeah.
Right.
Intellectual humility we've mentioned that a couple times. It's been a long time since we talked about it on the show. I believe it means an awareness of your shortcomings intellectually and kind of acceptance of that, or intellectual humility?
Again, it's like how we approach it. But if we're thinking,
how we approach what?
how we approach intellectual humility, like
what is intellectual humility
well
mean?
that's what I'm saying. There's it's like many things like this. There's a conversation and different perspectives.
So you can't define it. You got to talk about it.
I mean, that isn't talking about it, defining it. I don't know. No, it's fun. This is a thing. This is an exercise I engage in with my students a lot because they want the definition.
We
right
want definitions,
right? And the thing is, the whole point of being able to approach inquiry with a level of humility is recognizing you're not necessarily
your scarcity of whether intellectual, like cognitive power, or that you don't have all the data you need to make a decision. There's shortcomings in different ways, and you accept that
as a human being you have limitations.
Yes.
Right. And one of those limitations is you want to get the idea down right now. Give me a definition.
Right now.
And you need the humility to recognize
it takes time.
It takes time. It's not going to get right into yeah, exactly. And then once you get the definition,
it'll change.
Right. So having
impermanence is the only constant.
Having humility about, so it's more of a moral character trait.
Tell me about this book.
Humility about who you are. So I don't know a lot about the book.
What's the byline?
It's new. So I picked it up when I was at a character conference.
Okay.
It's relatively new. And what he says he's doing, and people were talking about it like it was...
It's got a picture of...
it's got a picture of Gandhi and Hitler.
And Hitler.
Like, yeah.
And it's a spectrum.
But
Gandhi's the best guy and Hitler's the worst guy.
An overview of what the research is on character right now. It's a very kind of... And character research is, from what I can tell, happening in 3 big areas. Moral psychology, educational research, and research in the business world. So it's, I think, trying to bring that conversation together.
Okay, first book proposed is The Character Gap by Christian B. Miller. Byline is How Good Are We? Okay.
Different
from a page perspective, we've got 200. We're just going to make that part of the data. We've got 200. Some of this is the index, but the hard number of pages, 276 pages. Some of that's the index.
And notes.
And there's notes, a lot of notes.
Yeah.
And works cited. Okay.
Yeah.
How thick do you think this book's going to be from, like, how many times am I going to have to read through each sentence before I understand what's going on?
It does not look super thick. It is an academic book written for a general audience.
Okay. It's a general audience.
Yeah.
That's good.
And so I'd say it's probably going to be you'll have moments. It won't have the variety of voices we had before.
Yeah.
But
because it's one author.
Right. We got 10 chapters. So that's probably 10 good reading moments.
How long are the chapters?
About 20 to 30 pages, it looks like.
I like that. That's not bad. I could probably read that.
And it looks like the notes are in it. Yeah. So I think it's going to be comparable to what we just did.
Okay. And it'll help your job.
I would love to have.
We could have like a synergy.
And I can let all the faculty who are doing our character stuff know we're talking about it. And
and maybe send them this if you want to know more about what Grant thinks about character
and my friend
stuff.
Phil.
And Phil, come watch us talk about the character gap.
Yeah.
I like it. Your turn to choose a question. I chose the first question.
You're not going to choose a book, right?
We'll do that in between every question.
What were some of the other questions? Do you got your list?
Oh my God. I'll look it up. But I think I know you don't remember one question, Grant?
No.
Come on.
No, I don't.
What kind of philosophy professor are you?
One who is through that syllabus already.
You're done with it.
I'm on to the next one.
Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple and you pick one. We don't have to go one by one. The first one is how should we live? The second one is what is knowledge? The third one is does reality have a ground? The fourth one is can consciousness be explained? The
All
fifth
right, let's
one,
stop there. What is knowledge?
What is knowledge? Let's talk about it. What is knowledge?
What is knowledge to you?
Man, it's interesting because you just brought up intellectual humility. And I think knowledge and intellectual humility go hand in hand because knowledge changes all the time, right? Our understanding of what is changes through experience, new data. So knowledge is changing. It's amorphous, right? There's not that capital T truth ever. But there's a constant kind of folding in new information and trying to get the best information. We're kind of using that first one of leading a good life, which is discernment. How do we bring our best faculties to bear on discernment, on figuring out, well, what is knowledge? What is important here?
Yeah. I think on the most fundamental level, knowledge for me is awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah. And I'm sort of, because like while you were talking, I'm listening, I'm like, yeah, I also have this very pragmatic sense of knowledge. Like my initial sense usually is like knowledge is about figuring out the things you need to figure out to do the things you need to do in life. Right. But there's a level at which that never quite satisfies, because it doesn't give us any sense of what it is that we need to understand about the figuring out to help guide us in that figuring out.
Well, in the figuring out, you're probably strengthening a tool.
Right. And that
tool is awareness.
Right.
I agree with that.
And awareness of what? Awareness of the world around us. In a kind of external knowledge.
And self.
And of ourselves in a kind of internal knowledge.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that one. What I've noticed in a lot of my interviews with people, awareness is what we're going for.
Right.
In Mary, when we were talking about balance, the Studio Satya co-owner, when we were talking about Phil Phails at balance, it was like awareness. Where am I at? With looking for intuition or like all that stuff is like awareness. And when you strengthen awareness, you're bringing in more data, baby. You're like, or you're bringing in, it's almost like you're making your eyes see different frequencies of light.
Right. No, I think that's true. It's bringing attention to the things that need attention, bringing the structures of organizing the data as it comes in
more fidelity.
Right, and more fidelity. And yeah, and so I think the consequence of that for me as a philosopher, again, not getting too woo-woo, because I don't think it needs to be too woo-woo, right? Like, is when I look at, for example, the Buddhist philosophical tradition, one of the strengths of that tradition is its understanding of reason, not as something to just represent on the page, but as something that we train ourselves in, like through real cognitive training and meditation, right? That regular practice of some sort of practice. Now that regular practice can be through a regular practice of reading. Reading, I mean, part of what I worry about if we increasingly go to a culture where people don't read books except for a small group of book nerds.
Yeah.
Is there's a training in awareness that comes from the act of reading in long form, right?
Yeah.
That trains you in an awareness that allows for waiting for the idea to unfold over a period of time, for having that patience, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but there are a variety of ways we can train that through practice. So I think knowledge is not just about representing the thing on the page through a series of, propositions leading to a conclusion. It's about training the cognitive faculty to be aware in certain ways that are more reliable and are better at apprehending the world in the way it is around us. Like, I do have a notion of an external world, and we're trying to represent that world, but representation is not the goal. Representation is one tool within our toolbox to get to better awareness as a knower.
Yeah, the question that came up for me,
because there's memory, there's cognition, there's focus, there's all sorts of things that go into that.
The question that came up for me is like, we're seeking knowledge. Mm-hmm. We're seeking greater awareness. Are we seeking a consistent, continuous structure to get there? And I think the answer is we can't. With every event, with every experience, we kind of have to approach it anew, like that beginner's mindset, because you're not going to be able to, if you try to codify or say like, this is how I'm going to approach gaining knowledge.
Right.
I'm going to do it this way every time. You're going to miss out because everything is different. Like something might be a sound that you want to have knowledge about. Something might be a physical object that you want, and you can't take your physical object awareness kind of structure or numbers like your steps.
Well, and that's
you need
why
new ones all the time.
That's why I think our knowledge is also best held in community.
Because someone might have the sound knowledge way, and some might have,
and that's where the representation comes in, because then they can represent it to us. And for most of us, how we interact with sound, that's going to be what we need. We need that guy who's really run that path, who's really gone down that, to say, hey, after all that experience, this is the best way to approach it.
Yes,
right.
Because we're
not going to know it like that guy knows it.
Tribal knowledge, but we can trust them.
But we can trust them.
We know he's a nerd in this.
We've got validation structures.
He's got certification.
Right. Yeah,
he's a certified nerd.
Right.
In whatever it is, and we trust him.
Right.
I like that. So knowledge. I think we've covered knowledge.
Yeah, figured it out. Never have to ask about knowledge again. What's your book?
I'm gonna pick my book. My book is equally, I think, maybe helpful for my job.
What's that?
It's Malcolm Gladwell's book, Tipping Point.
Oh man, I read that book.
You did?
Yeah.
Tipping Point.
It was when I was at Penn, in my fellowship when I was in the dorms the first year. They always had a common read that there were a lot of first year students in that dorm. And they had a common read that all the first year students would do.
Uh-huh.
And that first year it was Malcolm Gladwell's Tipping Point.
And the byline is how little things can make a big difference.
Yeah.
There's also a secondary book called Revenge of the Tipping Point, which I don't know if we do both of them or if they could be Revenge of the Tipping Point.
That's probably good, because my guess is it's Tipping Point's pretty old.
Yep.
And Revenge probably updates with the research.
The byline is Overstories, Super Spreaders, and the Rise of Social Engineering.
Right.
And the reason I think it
I think either could be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. The reason Tipping Point, I was excited. I don't have it, but I have read it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of Malcolm Gladwell's books.
Yeah, you've got Blink and some other things up there.
Yeah, I've got Blink. I've got Outliers. I've got Talking to Strangers.
Yeah.
I've got David and Goliath. The reason I like Tipping Point is I want this to go viral. And I thought maybe I'll learn something and immersing myself in this. I mean, he's exploring virality.
Right.
He's exploring how does something take off, and I'd like this show to take off. I want to make it big, baby. I want to go big.
Okay.
So that's why I bring Tipping Point to the table.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
All right.
Anything you want to say about the Revenge of the Tipping Point?
Don't know any. I mean, it seems like a potentially good way to go. We could do that
over Tipping Point, huh? Because we both read.
It might be good, although I mean, it's been 20 years since I read Tipping Point. But I also think I probably remember enough that if we dove into Revenge, it would come back.
I wonder if it'll tell me how many pages it has. I want to keep that data. I want to get that data away. How many pages?
You can make a spreadsheet with the number of pages,
make a spreadsheet. Yeah.
The number of chapters,
chapter length.
And then
what kind of
each
word?
one.
I need to have what's the hardest word in this chapter?
Right.
So am I going to
run it throh ChatGPT to
am I going to have to look up in a dictionary? How many times am I going to have to do a dictionary lookup?
Yeah, exactly.
In these chapters?
Yeah.
Can we just
get this 8th grade reading level, 12th grade, 16th grade? Yeah. And then just weight it all, and then it'll put out a number at the end, and you'll be like, that's number 10. That's got the most numbers. I'll choose that one.
I'm going to ask ChatGPT how many pages are in this. Revenge of the Tipping Point page count. Revenge of the Tipping
This is the most gripping part of the show, where Phil spends some time looking shit up on his phone.
Yeah, baby. That's what we're doing.
We're keeping it real.
368 pages. It's pretty fast. Thank you, ChatGPT. It's 368 pages.
And I remember about Malcolm Gladwell being very...
a fast read.
He's candy.
He's a fast read.
Yeah.
He's fun.
Yeah.
He's a great author. It'll be stories. It'll be science kind of interwoven in. I love Malcolm Gladwell. That's why I have so many of his books.
Yeah.
It is like candy.
Yeah.
I agree. If you got a sweet tooth for them books, baby, we go Malcolm Gladwell. Okay. Time to do the third question. I'm just going to go down the list because you did number 2. I'm going to do number 3. We're going to talk about, does reality have a ground? I don't think reality has a ground.
Great. We solved that one. What's the next question? I don't think we are capable of knowing whether reality has a ground or not.
We can't increase our awareness, hearkening back to question 2, sufficiently to find one.
Right. And I think there are certain ways we use our knowledge, or, again, understanding knowledge as this like broader awareness, where postulating a ground for reality seems helpful in organizing all the data to make it meaningful. Like that's part of what seems to be the case, is we need to have some sense of a cohesive framework that we could think of as a ground to fit everything in to form a picture of a world, right?
We have a ground because it's helpful.
Yeah, it kind of sets things up for us. It sets up
I get into a car. I don't get into a turtles all the way down thing.
Right. And there are other places where it's more helpful to emphasize that however we've set this up is not the real. Maybe there is no real. Let's not focus on
helpful. Yeah, that's what I get to, is how's this question helpful?
Right.
Why do I ponder this question?
So I think that's...
I don't think it has a ground.
Right. I don't think
how's it helpful
either.
How does it make me a better person?
Right. And maybe that's because that's a more important question to me. I think part of it is I realize when I talk to some other philosophers, they're really invested in figuring out whether there's a ground or not, right? And that's the important question to them as a knower.
Yeah.
It's just not that important to me. And I find a both and. Like sometimes it's good to postulate a ground. Sometimes it's good to postulate a reality without a ground. At the same time, there are certain kinds of things. Geometry. That humans seem to have arrived at relatively independently, that are not based on empirical experience, but based on a kind of way of apprehending fundamental structures.
Tapping into some law of nature.
Yeah. So mathematics troubles me as a potential window into the potential of what a ground might look like.
You can get there with math.
Right.
With numbers.
Like there's a kind of way in which we can
numbers
refine
don't have a ground.
An image.
There's infinite numbers between 1 and 0.
Right, and maybe that concept of infinity is the ground. I mean, whether we can represent it or not is a different thing of whether the ground is there. But we seem to be able to refine these particular ways of knowing that have such a level of stability and transferability across different types of experience that they point for me to like maybe there is a ground out there, right? But yeah, that's the closest I get. And I want to investigate that sometimes. I don't think like what I know I reject are most of our typical foundational concepts for reality in Western thought, which are too tied up with theism. I just don't think theism is a really good way to think about the nature of reality. And it's the way we've thought about it, like that it's grounded in God or something like that. Like theism is more useful to me in a kind of like bhakti.
What's bhakti?
Like devotional. Like if you're going to have gods, to me, it seems more important to have them as objects of devotion and worship.
For ritual, for community.
Than as a concept of how the world is put together.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. All right. That's the ground one. You want to say anything else about reality having a ground?
No.
I'm cool with that.
Cool.
Your book.
All right. Well, I don't think I have a book that's about the reality having a ground, so I'll pick out the big one.
The big one.
Just because.
Because that one has no freaking ground.
So I've wanted to read this, and part of why I haven't read it is because it's...
oh my God. It's huge.
It is huge, but part of why it's huge is it's just printed on nice paper.
Okay. I
mean, it's huge though. It's
how many pages?
With the index, it's 692.
Okay.
So it's not a George R.R. Martin novel quite. It's not a
It's
cut
not
to
a,
like
a
1,000
David Foster Wallace infinite jest yet.
This is The Dawn of Everything, A New History of Humanity.
Okay.
It came out a few years ago by David Graeber and David Wengrow. Part of what they're doing now, David Graeber's gone. This was published after he died. He wrote Debt, and a lot of people know his book Debt, which is kind of a history of debt.
This is a posthumous.
Right.
Posthumous.
He's an anthropologist.
Okay.
He was at Yale. He was very involved with Occupy, the Occupy movement.
Yeah.
And he wrote about that. He's an anarchist.
He's a radical.
Right. And really has been asking some sort of, he wrote the book Bullshit Jobs. That's another popular book he wrote, which is just sort of this theory that our economic system has basically evolved, that we're producing so much. And I shouldn't say just theory, because he kind of goes through the anthropological evidence for this.
Yeah.
Is that such a high level of productivity that we've had to manufacture all these bullshit jobs because we're unwilling to move past a labor-based understanding of organizing our economic relationships.
That seems interesting.
Right. So this was a book he worked on at the end of his life, and with David Wengrow, who I think is a archaeologist.
Okay.
That is going back into the most contemporary research we have on the archaeology of the emergence of human beings, and basically saying our basic notion that human beings emerged in these competing warlike tribes and the emergence of civilization was based around that sort of consolidation of resources in group identification just doesn't fit the evidence anymore. And that the evidence shows much more of an emergence of humanity around a cooperative, collaborative coming together of humans in a variety of ways.
Chapter lengths look to be about 40, 50 pages. Some of the chapter titles are A Farewell to Humanity's Childhood, or Why This Is Not a Book About the Origins of Inequality. Chapter 2, Wicked Liberty, The Indigenous Critique and the Myth of Progress. Another one, just going to pick Chapter 4, Free People and the Origin of Cultures and the Advent of Private Property. Not necessarily in that order. And let's see, Chapter 10, Why the State Has No Origin, The Humble Beginnings of Sovereignty, Bureaucracy, and Politics. Those are just grabbing a few chapter titles. Yeah. What excites you about this guy?
Well, it got a lot of attention when it came out. People were very excited, and that the intellectual work is good, right, behind this, right? This is not just sort of a harebrained theory they've put together around these, but that they have the research behind what they're talking about. It fundamentally does reframe some of those larger origin stories we have about what it is to be a human being. And that's a part of why I thought this might be good, is because I find you do that. And
I do what?
A curious thing about you often come back to these kind of ideas about an original way of being a human being, right? Before civilization.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As a kind of framework through thinking through things.
Tribal or hunter-gatherers. Right. Yeah.
And so I thought it would be interesting to do a reading of a text that's really looking at that kind of emergence of civilization with you. Because of that.
A little science. I'm going to do a little science. I'm going to pick a word. I'm going to pick a sentence, and I'm going to read it. So
as an assessment of how
thick this book is going to be.
And I've got mixed reviews. Some people say it's readable. Other people are like, I tried to read that book.
You have to take into consideration who is telling you that information.
Right, I know.
Tell me when to stop.
Now.
Okay, we're going to stop there. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Right there. Okay. Oof. The Indus Valley appears, in our interpretation is broadly correct. If our interpretation is broadly correct, I need to read the sentence as written. Read it. The Indus Valley appears, if our interpretation is broadly correct, to represent yet a third possibility where rigorous equality in certain areas, even the bricks were all precisely the same size, was complemented by explicit hierarchy in others. That seems okay. Probably like it's on the higher
in context,
side.
Yeah, like, and it's
I would need the context, but all those words are fine.
right.
I'm going to search.
That's the impression I've gotten, is that, it's an academic book, but it's an academic book that is written for a general audience.
Sometimes academics make up words to help communicate with other academics, and I don't want that.
Right. And it doesn't seem to be embedded in a particular discipline.
Right. I'm looking through, scanning for weird words. It's mostly normal words.
But it is thick and dry.
It's not candy.
It's not candy.
Not candy. But it's 50 pages, 40 pages, and they got some pictures. I like pictures.
And it's a different kind of thinking through things than we did in the last book, because it's more about the history and what the history tells us about who we are.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Anything more you want to say about that dawn of everything?
Nope.
Okay, you want to open us up with the third question, which was...
Fourth question.
Yeah, which is, can consciousness be explained? I'm gonna keep track of time. You're good.
No.
It's 11:29.
No.
It can't.
Yeah. But I'm not sure anything can truly be explained, so I think I'm biased on this one.
Well, because things change.
Right.
If things change, how can you... So what we want to do is have a static image of something and say, forever, this is this thing.
Right.
But what we're only given is the static image of it from when we saw it and took all the information we could gather in an imperfect system, where we can't get all the data because our peripherals are all... They're particular, so we're not getting all the frequencies of light, and we're not getting the sonar, and we're not getting all the information about something.
And that's a different question than, can we become aware of consciousness? That's a different question than, can we know consciousness? Can we understand?
Can it be explained?
Can it be explained? I think there's some fundamental ways in which on a more, and this really does go back to Descartes for me. On the most fundamental level,
the Koji,
the knower, right? Yeah, the fact that consciousness is in the position of knowing puts it in a position where it can't reflexively then go back in its explanatory methods and explain itself
and look at itself.
Right.
I go to
it can look at itself, but it just can't explain it.
I go to these woo-woo communities. I'm an explorer. I'm a seeker, and some of them have said like, "Hey, close your eyes, meditate or whatever, go into this place. And now I want you to turn your awareness back on itself." And I've always thought, I don't know that I'm doing that. Yeah. I know you're asking me to do that.
Right.
And I'm trying real hard.
But really, there's a good chance I'm just creating a phantasmagoria of things.
Yeah, I'm just doing this thing that you're asking me to do. And because my mind will, when in an influenced state or a open state, I'll give it a shot.
Right.
And then I'll create with imagination and all these other things, whatever that is. But can an eye look at itself without a mirror?
Right.
It can't.
Right.
That's just an impossibility. Right. Can consciousness be explained? But I think consciousness does rely on the body. Because when the body changes, consciousness, or at least its expression changes, or does it? Or is the expression the consciousness?
That's part of what hits those gaps in our ability to explain, is that on one hand is very tied to physicality, which seems to be defined, like the material world is defined by principle and regular and predictability,
prefrontal cortex and all this stuff,
right? And it seems to create a fatalistic understanding of consciousness, but consciousness doesn't make sense unless we have an ability to actually make choices,
right? And so choices demonstrate character,
and part of so it's not that we can't say a lot about consciousness. I just don't think we can explain it. Meaning we get to the end and we have the explanation. Is
consciousness just the awareness of this thing happening?
No, because you're making choices, right? And
is consciousness making choices?
I mean, again, like it's one of those puzzles.
Because the brain could bring in all the data.
Like, the brain is the executive function the same as the knowing function? Like, are they the same? I don't know. We can even get there because we're stepping outside the framework of what we can know in an explanatory way, right? Which means that we can represent it on the page. Like that's the way I think of explanation. Explanation, I can draw it out. I can make a diagram of it and I can give it to you and you're like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Like I can explain how, and maybe that's the thing is like explanations are not wise. Explanations are not, and that's why I said it's sort of a cheat because I don't think we can explain anything.
It's not a definition. It's a conversation.
Can I explain my car? I don't know if I can explain my car. I can explain to you how it works.
Yeah, what it does.
I can explain to you what it does.
Its function.
Right. So when I get into function, when I get into the process, I can do that. But the why, the kind of like, or the thing, the is, those aren't explanations. Those are kind of big picture that requires a bigger thing than on the page.
So no.
No. So we can move on.
Okay,
Yeah.
my book. I'm putting into our book pile. Our pile of books. I'm putting in The Alchemist.
Oh yeah.
Are you familiar? Have you read this book?
No, I haven't.
I don't have it there on the shelf. I've never read it. It's come up in my circles and people. Oh goodness, this thing knows what I want. The Alchemist is written by, oh my goodness, how can we say this? It's Paulo Coelho?
I think so, yeah.
Coelho.
I mean, if we choose it as a book, you'll have to look up how to actually pronounce it.
I'll learn that.
That'll be your job.
Yeah, I'll do that.
And then we'll get it down.
The Alchemist, though, this book, it's a spiritual book. Do you know much about this book?
I mean, it seems like a kind of a spirituality, self-help book, but maybe it's in a kind of narrative form. Similarly, I have friends over time, people close to me who have really loved that book.
Or quoted it. I've heard quotes of it. It says The Alchemist is an allegorical tale. Right. What is allegorical?
It means it's telling a story to make a point.
I like that. I like stories for points. An allegorical tale of adventure, love, and dreams that explores themes of personal destiny and transformation.
Yeah. And well, I guess allegorical isn't just a story to make a point. It's a story where the point is made by kind of a way in which the story represents the point. So it's not like a fable. It's more like where characters represent different ideas and their interaction as characters are, right?
Is telling that, 208 pages.
Oh yeah, it's candy.
It's probably candy, baby.
It's totally candy.
Yeah. You can maybe pick two books and have like a candy and a...
Or we do like we choose one book and however long it takes us to go through, we get closer to another one.
11:36. I got you. You're wanting out of here at 12, right?
Yeah, no, you're fine. I'm looking to see.
Oh, now this is the time in our podcast where Grant looks at his watch, which is his phone equivalent.
My watch, I'm just like, oh, my wife is texting me. I better double check that. And looks like it's something I can address in a half hour.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. So yeah, that's Alchemist. Why do I like it? I've heard it a bunch. I've quoted it, and I've never read it.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And one of my friends suggested it when I was talking to her about, hey, what books should I bring to the table? I came up with all these this morning and last night.
What's the next question?
Next question. Let's go. The next question is anything we do ever really up to us? We're talking about free will. We're talking about determinism. We're talking about cause and effect. We're talking about, destiny. Yes.
My answer is yes. It's a fairly open question. Is anything? I'm sure that in the things we do, there's some things that are up to us. I'm not a fatalist.
I don't think I'm a fatalist either.
I think we tend to overvalue how much we have control over.
Yeah, because we don't have control. Right. There's so many we make variables outside of our
at some points, and I don't think it's helpful to think otherwise.
If we can build habits through action, if we have agency, things are up to us.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the whole idea and notion of agency requires
and I think living a life without a notion of agency doesn't make sense, right?
No, doesn't make sense.
Because even the need to make sense assumes agency. I would need it to make sense in order to do something with that. I hear the fatalism arguments, but I'm like, but you you're making the choice to make that, and you can't get around that fundamental experience.
Oh, they're using their agency to make the fatalistic argument.
Yeah, like that fundamental, and everything else that I think we've built in terms of our way of understanding the world is so preconditioned on the basic premise that we are an agent in a world, right? We don't even have a question of knowledge unless we're an agent in the world.
We have an agent in the world. And yet, what we do right now is going to be based on all of our experiences up until now.
Absolutely.
If I was born into a rich family,
yep,
I can't decide to buy a yacht right now.
Right.
Because I wasn't born into this yacht buying family where I can just go buy yachts.
Yeah.
So there is some impact to the past or where we
have agency, but it's partial.
It's partial.
Right. We have partial agency because there's so many things that shape us and our world that are not our agency as well.
What percentage do you think we got free will? What percentage?
I don't know if it's helpful to think about it because it's only important really in those moments where we have free will.
10%?
I think it's probably a fraction of a percent, but
we're 1%ers,
right? But that we tend to have agency in those moments that most matter, right? Most of the day we're on autopilot, but especially if we're attuned, our awareness knows that autopilot has a good ability to kick us up out of it. When we got to make a decision,
we got to be able to make decisions.
We're driving down the road. We're just on autopilot. But the minute that car comes careening from out of the,
we wake up
and act, right?
When it's really important,
right? And that's partly, I think, because it does seem when people do the cognitive research, that moment when you wake up and act, you're burning so many more calories than when you're on autopilot. It's just a very decision-making awareness agency is a very resource-intensive process for the organism.
I watched this video. It was awesome. It was an Oxford debate, a debate at Oxford. And the person who was speaking is an author called Daniel Markovits. He wrote a book called The Meritocracy Trap.
Oh, nice.
I think that's the name of it. I should have put his book on there. And he goes through 4 kind of arguments for meritocracy being a sham.
Right.
And the first one was like investment. The investment is really what dictates outcome.
Yeah.
It's not raw ability.
Yes.
It's not, physical whatever. It's actually imparting knowledge and having high practice. Good practice makes perfect, not practice. Practice makes permanent.
Right.
Good practice makes perfect. And these people have access to the best. So all of that, these kids, these human entities that come from whatever past life into that life, they don't have any choice in that. They just wake up and they're like, oh, I've got this person investing a ton of energy into me and dumping a bunch of information. And that's really going to control what they do.
And it's very early in the formation of,
It's fundamental.
Right.
Whether they say primary conditioning occurs in the home, this is all happening. Their cycle of violence is almost a cycle of meritocracy for them.
It's what the Head Start program was based on, like the justification of the Head Start program, was a recognition that our public educational system was not providing that kind of environment to invest in us as human beings broadly enough, because we started at kindergarten. And by kindergarten, there's a whole set of basic processes. It's the framework. That's why social emotional learning is so important in K through, especially elementary education, because it's such a formative period. And people are like some people hear social emotional learning, they're like, oh, that's getting away from the fundamentals. But it's actually really about the fundamentals of who you are as a human being, as a learner, and the structures of habits that get embedded in a very pliable neurology at an early age. Not that you can't change it later.
There is neuroplasticity.
But it's harder.
And
it's harder throughout life. And I even see this in myself. Like, I notice how older people are more rigid in their minds. Like, and you see that when you're seeing someone go through dementia, that rigidity rears up even stronger, even as they're losing cognitive faculties.
You need to do some fasting.
Right.
Keep that.
All that is there, and we have that plasticity. So yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting, one of the books that I thought about bringing, but I didn't, was a different book with a similar argument called The Tyranny of Merit.
Maybe we do
which
get
was
into
more
merit.
of an ethicist's focus on meritocracy.
I want to invite my audience to go watch this video. You can just search meritocracy debate. It's by Oxford Union is the YouTube channel that has it, and Daniel Markovitz.
And what's the name of the book?
His book is the Meritocracy Trap.
Are we going to add that as a book?
And we can.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to add that. And I think the reason I want them to read it now, because of all the stuff it's a topical conversation now about DEI.
Right.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I think he makes a really good argument for how if we do prioritize meritocracy, we are going to have rich folks in all the best positions.
Yes.
We're not going to have a good, and I think society requires us to share and to be, and there to be diversity at all areas. And meritocracy, if you watch this, I hope you do, meritocracy is not good for them either. He goes extensively into how it really ruins their lives too. These kids don't want to be poked and prodded from the time they're born to like get good grades and do all this stuff. They want to go run and play and fall down on a playground.
Right.
It's bad for everybody.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean we don't focus on excellence, but the weird thing about meritocracy is that instead of saying we as a civilization are going to focus on excellence and becoming the most excellent human being we can be, we're going to use that as a justification for how we rank people, distribute resources.
Yeah.
That's the problem with meritocracy, is not the focus on excellence, but the focus that like achievement of excellence should somehow be tied to how the system rewards you. Yeah. And not to recognize the fundamental injustice of a system that excludes people who are trying their hardest
and it makes
within their capabilities.
It gives them, he talks about this too, it gives them this perception of themselves being wrong or bad because they don't have what they fundamentally can't have.
Right.
Because they just didn't have that same experience. They weren't invested in from the beginning. So I'm definitely putting this on here, but it is your turn to pick. How did we get there? Oh, we were talking about the question of, is anything really up to us?
Yeah.
And we came to the conclusion that yes, 1%.
Yeah. And then you were like, 1%, meritocracy.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I did think of that. Yeah, that's how we got there. Now it's your turn to pick a book.
Oh, it's my turn to pick a book. Let's see here. What would be a good one to go next? I don't know about this book, much about this book. I know you like talking about sex.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Right.
Let's talk about why do I like talking about sex?
You do. You like sex. It's a good topic.
I mean, I like sex.
And it's a good topic to explore. So this is Andy Newberg. Okay. It's a new book. I don't know much about it. I do know Andy Newberg. Andy Newberg did a lot of research on, and I think we've talked about.
Read the title of the book, Grant, for the people.
Sex, God, and the Brain. Right?
Sex, God, and the Brain. What's the byline?
How sexual pleasure gave birth to religion and a whole lot more.
Okay. It's going to be spicy. A little spicy?
I mean, maybe.
Pick a page and read a sentence.
He's a neuroscientist who studies how the brain works with people having religious experiences.
So it might not be spicy.
But it might overlay well with like your conversations with some of the tantric practitioners and things like that.
Yeah.
That's part of why I thought about
glasses. This. Oh my God. Smart Grant just showed up at the podcast.
I mean,
you can't find a sentence. You have got to read the first one your brain.
Prescription antidepressants, anti-anxiety, and antipsychotic medications have all been used to help people with a variety of mental health problems. Importantly, these prescribed medications are known to affect neurotransmitter systems.
I understand all
so
that.
He's right in the middle of a conversation about, neuroscience. Yeah, and he's good at explaining. I've used readings from him with our students in the past on his research on brains and religious experiences. He's good at taking complex neuroscience ideas and writing about them in a way that
is approachable.
You
like this guy?
I do like him as a writer.
How many pages we got there?
It's not too long. And he tends to, be presenting kind of here's the research.
He knows people looks at the size of those books.
Where are we going with this? It is.
It's not the size of the book, y'all.
202 pages.
202 pages. Okay.
Sex, God, and the Brain. Let's look at some of the chapter titles.
Yeah. And then how long are the chapters are?
14 chapters. These chapters tend to be about 10 to 15 pages.
Okay.
Maybe 20
that's
pages.
A small. Yeah. Give us some.
We might read it two at a time. In the beginning, rhythms and rituals, myths and sexuality, sexual ecstasy and spiritual ecstasy, orgasmic meditation, God molecules and the sex molecules, the spiritual brain on drugs. It's organized into parts. The foundation, part 2, the connection between sex, spirituality, and science. Part 3, the impact of the connection, good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes over things like sexual and spiritual addictions, sexuality, religion, and violence, the dark side of sexuality and religion. So he seems to be trying to capture kind of a big conversation around the topic, but from, I assume, the perspective of his background in neuropsychology.
I like it.
All right. Next
question. Why do bad things happen to good people? We have 10 minutes. Man, I think shit happens, Joe.
Yeah, I just don't think there's a connection between being good and consequences in terms of what's good. There is some level. It's not
karma. I don't believe in karma.
Yeah.
I just can't buy karma.
Yeah, I think karma, I think sin and salvation, I think a lot of these frameworks we developed traditionally were rooted in just trying to make sense of a world. And just, the hard thing that being good is not about getting a reward.
Yeah.
Being good is about being good.
It's about being good.
And it's like that classic, being good is its own reward. And it is. And yeah. And it's not that great a reward, except you chose the life that was the good life.
And at the same time, all you guys out there that say karma and believe in that, I'm fine with that. If that helps you be a better person, it's getting us the outcome we want, which is the good, And
I'm open to being shown, I'm open to be shown an argument. I'm open to being shown a way to understand this. It's one of those places where I have a sense of what I think is right.
Yeah.
But I also think there's probably a good chance I'm wrong. So that's the other side. It's not just, I think we're
open-minded.
You can bring that idea and have it because it helps you. But it's
next book is a book by Robert Bly. Mm-hmm.
Poet.
He is, and an author.
Men's rights, or not men's rights, men's movement.
He's a renowned poet and author of the groundbreaking bestseller Iron John.
Yeah, that was kind of like
essay,
one of the big men's movement books.
Right. They used that book in the Mankind Project,
that
New Warrior Adventure Training, which I've been through.
Yeah.
And this is the book that he wrote before that book called A Little Book on the Human Shadow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which... it comes to me because I had an interview yesterday with a shadow work facilitator. His name is Craig Tennant.
And if I remember correctly, Bly is in a kind of when he uses that notion of the shadow, it's like Jungian in origin in the way he approaches it. Yeah, that could be really interesting. I remember early in my reading, I read The Dream in the Underworld.
Mm-hmm.
Which is kind of a Jungian, post-Jungian attempt to work out things with how we deal with shadow, right? And I've been interested in that topic for a while, so I'd be game for that.
And I'm interested too because I'm working with Craig. We're going to do a couple. We're going to do a couple talks.
Yeah, I like these potential overlays.
I do too.
With the other conversations
I do too, because I want,
and I think all of the things we've talked about have potential overlays with different people.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned this before, and it's been stewing. It's been unfolding inside of me. This idea of bringing in multiple people,
like doing panels
and having a panel discussion
right,
about things,
or like a conversation with 3 or 4 chairs.
I like the idea of doing
too.
that. I mean, it would give me some new thing to do, a different structure and a different type of an organism, with like different people providing information. I think that'd be really cool to have Craig come in and you and me and have that discussion. So it's 96 pages. So it literally is a little book.
Yeah, we'd probably do 2 episodes on that.
Yeah,
maybe 3.
Maybe, yeah. It'd be a pretty small book. And, I think it'd probably be good for folks that a shadow is the things that we hide, deny, and repress. I think that'd be a cool, like, self-helpy time we'd spend together. Okay, next question. And we're rolling up on the end of this time, so we got to speed this up. How much is enough? Greed, prosperity, and the economic problem of happiness. How much is enough?
I think mostly that's a good question to ask yourself all the time, right? I don't know that there's a clear answer. I just think it's good to say, hey, do I have enough? Do I need to keep pursuing more?
What is thriving?
Right. What is thriving? And I think we sort that out, but we also have to sort that out. What is thriving in a community where our thriving isn't at the exploitation of others?
It's so hard, though, because I imagine as you thrive, as you get more, you normalize that level of thriving, and that the actual radar, the detector changes.
Yeah. And
to where you want that amount, and
right.
then I want that amount more, and then I want that amount more. It's got to be difficult.
Yeah, exactly. I think their best method for addressing that is checking in with each other. Like, am I taking too much of your stuff?
Communal.
Yeah. And we just and thriving is not just about the stuff, it's about the community. We can't thrive outside of community. I mean, you can sit like a dragon on your hoard.
I mean, I think we have folks that are doing that.
But those people are not happy.
I mean, or their community is their peers.
Or they're in a community of peers of dragons.
Dragons.
Yeah.
The peer got me in the D&D mind already. Like,
always.
Just like a round table of dragons.
Always.
Like, Elon
smoking
Musk
cigars.
And just like on their yachts. They're just they pull their yachts up to each other and they talk to each other from their like the end of them.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So the answer to that is.
Oh, we need a book, don't we?
Yeah, we need a book. It's my turn. Yeah, I did the last book. It's your turn. Book us.
So this is I'm going to go with the next one because it's skinny and you like skinny books.
Oh, yeah.
The Reasons of Love.
The Reasons of Love by Harry
Frankfurt. He wrote a book I really like called On Bullshit, which is kind of an analysis. He's a very analytic philosopher, but he's approachable as one. It's like 95 pages. So it's going to be very straightforward, trying to think through it. So he's trying to do this very analytic, like what is love? In The Reasons of Love, leading moral philosopher and bestseller author Harry Frankfurt argues that the key to a fulfilled life is to pursue wholeheartedly what one cares about, that love is the most authoritative form of caring, and that the purest form of love is in a complicated way, self-love. And so knowing him and the way he approaches it, the book will be an argument for that. So looking at why we should...
Self-love is the foundation of all love.
The self-love is the foundation of that life of flourishing.
Yeah.
Right? That we need to, if we're looking for a flourishing life, we need to pursue what we care about. And the most authoritative form of caring is love. And the purest form of that is self-love.
It's like follow your bliss.
So...
How many pages we got there?
Like I said, it is 100. Exactly 100 pages, 3 chapters.
So that's like 3 episodes.
But
maybe
also a
even
very,
2.
very classic form of philosophy.
Read a sentence. Oh, so it's going to be a hard read.
Not necessarily. It's going to be, he doesn't have a hard style here. What we love is necessarily important to us just because we love it. There's also a rather different point to be made here. Loving itself is important to us. Quite apart from our particular interest in the various things that we love, we have a more generic and even more fundamental interest in loving as such.
Okay.
So the difficulty is not in his language, is that he's making a very formal argument.
We got to follow it.
Yeah.
Okay. The last question is, what do we owe future generations? And we don't have a lot of time. So what do we owe future generations? I think we owe them. All this kind of just plays out if we answer the first one. If we live that flourishing life, we're not going to treat our environment. We're not going to do things that leave our future generations in the lurch.
Yeah. I mean, I think we owe them the best world we can leave them without.
Because we have to have a good world.
Yeah. Without.
We want a good, it's
Right.
selfish.
Right.
We want a thriving world.
We owe building a world that is sustainable. I guess that's the way to think about it. So, like when we're thinking about what it is to be flourishing, what it says is we need to have a notion that it's not just a flourishing at the moment or not just a flourishing for our lifetime, but a flourishing that the humans can carry forward and continue to
flourish. Some homeostasis.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that. I think we solved that one.
Yeah, we solved that one. Last book, Meritocracy Trap. We can put that one on there if you want to check it out.
Okay.
So we're at the end. This is, I don't know, if I can release this one ahead of time, we can have them kind of weigh in on it.
Sure.
Like, what book do you guys want? But I don't know if I'm going to be able to edit this and get it out
so
really
maybe
fast. I still have some other ones to edit from our last book club. So we might want to ponder this and then have a conversation offline.
Yeah, and then maybe we can let them vote when this comes out on, and let's just, by that time we'll have made a decision. Hey, we're reading this one for the next set, but
you can still vote
on the other
and that
ones.
could be the next one.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we could use this for our next book. So you guys vote. Which book do you like? What do you want to hear us talk about? We've got a whole list of them, from The Dawn of Everything to The Tipping Point or Revenge of Tipping Point. We've got The Reasons of Love. We've got Sex. What was that? Sex.
I think Sex, God, and the Brain.
Sex, God, and the Brain. We've got a little book on The Human Shadow.
We've
The
got
Alchemist.
The
We got
Gap.
The Character Gap. You've heard us talk about a bunch of books here. Weigh in the comments. Let us know what you want us to read. Maybe we'll do it next time.
Excellent.
This has been Phil Phails at Philosophy Book Club with Grant Potts. Today we've discussed all of the questions, all the big questions, and we solved them. So, you all know now.
Good. Yeah.
You all know now. Thank you so much for watching. And keep watching Phil Phails.
Do we clap at the end? I can't remember if we clapped.
I don't think we clapped at the beginning.
We clapped at the middle of the beginning.
Did we clap?
We clapped.
Okay.
Because I was impressed by how much we clapped together.
Yeah. No, we clap at the beginning. We hug at the end.
We hug at the end. Oh, that's right.
We hug at the end. Okay, that's it.
I always have to take off my glasses for that.
Oh yeah, because that's not. It's not a smart act.
Right. No, it's not.
It's a smart aleck. Come on.
Where are we?
It's not.